Good afternoon, everyone. It's always great to see a full house here at Prescott City Council voting meeting. Today is May 14th, 2024. It's 3 p.m. And Mayor Pro Tem, do we have any introductions or announcements?
We have some announcements today. We've got 3 of them. So beginning on May 27th and continuing into June 2024, the Prescott Public Library Marina Street parking lot will be closed for construction to correct ADA deficiencies. During the closure, external book drops will be available in the alley to the south of the parking lot and at the Goodwin Street Library entrance. Bulk donations will not be accepted during the lot closure, and all donations will need to be brought inside the library. The Lions Club paper recycling bin will be relocated to the south parking lot. A map with alternative parking options is available on the library website, or you may call 928-777-1500 for further information. Number 2, the City of Prescott has implemented time of day watering restrictions. This is something that the city does every year from April 15th to November 1st. According to the City Ordinance 4536, watering restrictions require you to do your outdoor watering after 8 p.m. and before 8 a.m. This helps to conserve water during the summer heat. For more outdoor water conservation ideas, go to PrescottWater.com. And the third one, and my most favorite one, congratulations to Councilman Moore on grandbaby number 9, a little baby boy named Kimball. And that's it, Mayor.
Very good. We'll now have an invocation from Councilman Moore, followed by a Pledge of Allegiance from Councilwoman Fruworth.
Our most kind and gracious Father in heaven, it is with gratitude that we bow our heads in prayer at the beginning of this City Council voting session. And we invoke Thy Spirit to be with us today, to guide our deliberations, our thoughts, to increase our unity. We know, Heavenly Father, that there's a lot of division in the world, and we know that it is important to find common ground and to work together for the common good of our community. And we also want to thank the Heavenly Father that we take time in these meetings to recognize our city employees, and particularly today, our Public Works Department, and all that they do to bless the lives of the citizens and the residents of the City of Prescott. We acknowledge that we are grateful for the privilege and opportunity to live in this fine city. And again, we invoke and pray for Thy Spirit to be here in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll start the meeting here with roll call, please.
Mayor Good.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantelmi.
Here.
Councilwoman Fruworth.
Here.
Councilman Gambogi.
I'm here.
Councilman Montoya.
Still here?
Councilman Moore.
Here.
And Councilmember Rusing.
Present.
All are present.
All right, we'll start the presentations with the recognition of Public Works Week and a presentation of a proclamation.
And Gwen is going to say a few words, and then we have a short video, and then Mayor will present the proclamation.
Thank you, Sarah. Gwen Rowich, Public Works Director. We're both pleased and honored to be here today in recognition of Public Works Week. As you can see, quite a few of our staff came into the building today for this occasion. We tried to do something a little bit different this year, and we made a short video. I promise it's short. Not everyone was super eager to be on camera, but I think they did a fantastic job. So if we could kick off the video, that would be great. Public Works Director Gwen Rowich, and today I'm here at our administrative offices to recognize the hard work of our Public Works employees in celebration of National Public Works Week. Come on inside and I'll tell you all about it. This year's theme is Advancing the Quality of Life for All. That's a mission we take seriously here in the Public Works Department. Our Public Works Department's municipal services include producing and distributing drinking water, maintaining regional and local roads, collecting and disposing of solid waste and recyclables, treating and collecting sanitary sewage, and so much more. Let's come meet some of our incredible staff.
I'm Brady Higgs, Solid Waste Superintendent. Here at the City of Prescott Transfer Station, we take 80,000 tons of waste materials every year, including inert material, recyclables, brush, and trash. We also provide special services to Prescott residents, such as household hazardous waste removal, free brush drop-off in April, bulk trash in the fall, and Christmas tree pickup. Please check out our website for more information about our services. While you're there, be sure to check out our Recycle Wizard at www.prescottrecycles.com.
I'm Street Maintenance Superintendent Brian Scott. The street maintenance crews repair potholes, trim trees, clean and clear drainage structures, and so much more. In the winter, my team gears up for snow because in just an average year, we plow about 50,000 lane miles. Snow management is an important part of our operation, and because I lead this team, I have been affectionately nicknamed the Snow Boss. Welcome to our new snowstorm preparation facility located on Sundog Ranch Road. At this facility, we can quickly transition street maintenance equipment into snow plows by outfitting them here. This new centrally located facility allows for the safe and convenient travel of our operators during winter storm events.
I'm Utilities Manager Steve Olfers. Welcome to the water production facility located in Chino Valley. The Chino Valley Airport wells pump approximately 4 million gallons per day in winter and up to 12 million gallons per day during summer into the water distribution system for domestic water and fire protection to over 27,000 homes and businesses in the area. The Utilities Division is also responsible for the collection and treatment of wastewater. Today, we're at the Airport Water Reclamation Facility, where we can treat up to 5 million gallons per day of raw sewage. Treated wastewater is known as effluent, which is used on golf courses and for local construction projects in the region. When not needed for the golf courses, it goes back into the ground to recharge the aquifer in one of 7 recharge basins here at the Water Reclamation Facility.
I'm Deputy Director and City Engineer Randy Parham, and today I'm at City Hall in the Permit Center, where we process over 500 engineering and right-of-way permits annually. The team provides information to the public about flood and regulations required by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, also known as FEMA. We also oversee drainage, traffic control, water and wastewater, all engineering standards to ensure that safe and reliable infrastructure is built in our community.
I'm Transportation Manager Ian Mattingly. Today I'm out at the sign shop where we make our own signs for the safety of traffic, pedestrians, and bikes along our city's roadways. Along with this important work, our group is responsible for special event closures for our major downtown events, which we all enjoy. The traffic signal team works to ensure the safe and efficient operation of our traffic signals to move traffic through the community. They also maintain our antique streetlight systems, the city's radar speed feedback signs, and enhanced mid-block crosswalk signs.
I'm Capital Program Manager Tim Sherwood. Our team builds infrastructure projects all around the city. Currently, we are performing pavement maintenance projects on several major roadways, building a new traffic light for the safe movement of traffic, and finishing the intermediate pump stations project to provide reliable and safe drinking water to the citizens of Prescott.
I'm Water Resources and Environmental Service Manager Brian Reese. Water quality is of high importance to the community. That's why we regularly sample the city's stream and creeks for contaminants and are implementing strategies to improve the health of Willow and Watson reservoirs. We also work hard to secure water rights for the future sustainability of the community and administer water conservation program to reduce water consumption. To find out more information on ways you can save water or get a water rebate, go to PrescottWater.com.
I'm Janet Ramsey, Deputy Director of Public Works for the City of Prescott. Thank you for watching our video. I hope you learned a little bit more about what we do in Public Works, but we also wanted you to know a little bit more about who we are. We are the proud providers of 24/7 essential public services for the City of Prescott.
So thank you for watching our short video. Obviously, we couldn't put everyone on the film. We have 175 employees in the Public Works Department. We have a pretty good representation here today. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that our finance and business operations team was somehow omitted from this video, but they really are the foundation on which our team is successful, so I wanted to mention that. And those of you that are here today on behalf of Public Works, come on up. The mayor's going to read our proclamation.
I always like to see a full house here at our city council meetings, but after the Public Works Department leaves, I think it's going to be pretty empty.
How are you doing today?
Good, thanks.
Good to see you again. How's life in Southview? Good, right?
Pretty good. Well, I think we're going to need a wide-angle lens, that's for sure. Well, it's my pleasure to present this proclamation to the Public Works Department in recognition of National Public Works Week. Proclamation, National Public Works Week, May 19th through the 25th, 2024. Whereas public works professionals operate and maintain infrastructure and facilities while providing services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health and safety, a high quality of life, and the well-being of the citizens of Prescott. And whereas the theme of the 2024 National Public Works Week is advancing quality of life for all. And whereas the City of Prescott's Public Works Department does advance the quality of life for the community through the dedicated efforts of its public works professionals, who are workers, specialists, operators, supervisors, engineers, managers, inspectors, and support staff responsible for maintaining, improving, and protecting our city's streets, water, wastewater, solid waste, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it's in the public interest for the citizens of Prescott to gain knowledge and understanding about the importance of public works projects and programs in the community. Now, therefore, I, Phil Good, Mayor of the City of Prescott, do hereby proclaim the week of May 19th, 2024 through May 25th, 2024 as National Public Works Week, and to recognize the contributions which public works staff make every day to our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life. Thank you all so much. Now, after this wonderful video we've seen, do you have any additional comments? No. So thank you all.
Sure, I didn't hear that.
All right, next up we have a presentation regarding regional cooperation during recent fire events, and I think our fire chief Holger's going to come up and handle that.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Holger Durr, Fire Chief. We have the opportunity today to highlight regional collaboration as it was displayed during the Legato fire on April 1st. And Chief Freitag from Central Arizona is here with me to personally thank you for the collaboration that we were able to provide that evening. But it's actually really appropriate as well that this came right on the heels of Public Works presentation, because we got a couple of shout outs that may not normally be in a fire presentation. And when you have an event the size of the Legato fire, we just really want to publicly acknowledge the many partners, including in this case Prescott Valley Public Works, our own fleet department, and we'll get into some of those details. But first, to get started, I just would invite Chief Freitag to give you a couple of the context around the initial incident, and then we'll fill in some of those pieces about the regional collaboration.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Scott Freitag, Central Arizona Fire Medical Authority. At about 1:16 in the morning on April 1st, the Legato Luxury Apartments, which were about 53% done, we got a call that those apartments were on fire. When the initial crews arrived on scene, multiple floors of every wing of that structure was on fire. There was nothing we were going to do to reverse the course of what was going to happen to that building. The key at that point was keeping that in a box, so to speak. Don't let the fire get outside of there. And if you know how that building was situated, the Homestead Apartments across Main Street are not that far away. BMO Bank building at one point started off gassing. So we had to put crews on that to make sure we cooled that. And then we had commercial on the other side. We were blessed that night because of the weather. The wind was blowing west from the east, so it wasn't blowing the embers onto Homestead Apartments. And there was a light rain, because if this was a month later and the winds in any other direction with the ember wash we would have had a far more significant event. On behalf of the Central Arizona Fire Medical Authority, and while I don't speak for the town of Prescott Valley, I will say the Fain family and Prescott Valley, we just want to thank the city of Prescott for the partnership, the assistance. It really was a community effort to put this out, and not just by the firefighters.
The automatic aid system that we have that operates every day that we've talked about recently is obviously the backbone for the normal everyday emergencies that provides a really highly efficient response system. But when something like this occurs on April 1st, it really does tax the resources. And a couple of things that we want to highlight real quick is, first of all, out of the 15 engines that are staffed 24/7 between Central Arizona and the city of Prescott, 13 of those units were committed to the incident. In addition to that, the brand new Cottonwood ladder truck was also not first due, but at that incident as well, making that the 14th unit. There were 2 units that were left from Central Arizona that were still out in the system, but all 5 Prescott engines and trucks were committed to that incident. One of our first due incident commanders, company officer Brandon Johnstone, had literally just been promoted about 6 weeks prior, and in the first couple of minutes of that incident made critical decisions between the Homestead Apartments and that. And so I just want to highlight again our personnel integrating seamlessly. As that event unfolded, a couple of really remarkable things happened. First of all, the Public Works Department in Prescott Valley, we can't thank them enough for responding immediately and diverting valves so that we had adequate water pressure, because as you can imagine, a significant amount of water was flowing. I don't know if you actually calculated how much was flowing. Yeah, millions of gallons. For both of us, it was definitely by square footage the largest fire we had ever both responded to. For our rookie firefighters, we actually jokingly said, well, you had the first one right away, and from here on it's downhill for the next 25 years. Sorry. But the other thing that happened is that Prescott Valley Police Chief Bob Tyser also responded, and this just highlights how we work collaboratively together in the Central Arizona Fire and Medical Authority Battalion Chief vehicle, where the Battalion Chief and Chief Freitag were in the front. Chief Tyser got right into the back seat and started coordinating the other needs, including evacuation, investigation needs, and that's also why we're not covering a lot of the details right now, because it's still actively ongoing, as you know. The other piece is that our fleet department and Tim Legler called us proactively without us having to reach out and said, what do you guys need? Because we know you're committed. And within just a few minutes, Justin Hill and some of his team members were on their way to Legato with a fuel truck to make sure that our ladders were constantly supplied with fuel. DEF fluid was there, and if God forbid one of those had a mechanical breakdown, they were ready to go. The other thing that I really want to just get into, just to paint this picture, is Justin knew that the Central Arizona Fire and Medical Authority ladder truck happened to be in the shop at that time at Central Arizona Fire and Medical Authority. And one of the first things he said to me, at 3 o'clock in the morning is, what about their truck? Now, granted, one of their assistant chiefs had been able to pick that up, but that just tells you the level of collaboration that goes on every day, not just between Chief Freitag and I, not just between our firefighters and I, but even between essential departments like our fleet services and Central Arizona Fire and Medical Authority's fleet services. And those are just things that we're extraordinarily proud of course. And when something like this happens, even though we really are, passing out our condolences to the folks that lost jobs, and the Fanes obviously lost a really important project at this point, it also is a great opportunity for us to talk about that collaboration. The last thing we want to cover is statewide mutual aid. When we have 14 of our units committed to an incident like that, emergencies still happen. As a matter of fact, for some weird reason, on that morning, 34 emergency incidents were handled by other mutual aid resources that came from as far away as Cottonwood, Sedona, and other areas. The Sedona Battalion Chief was here managing the Prescott side of the system till about 4 o'clock that afternoon so that we could reset all of our resources. And that is a system that is built in and ready at any time for us to utilize, because as you can imagine, those 15 resources can get depleted pretty quick for an incident like that, and we need more help. So I don't know if you want to highlight any of the other collaborations.
Well, I'd like to point out Prescott Regional Communications Center. I think they played a vital role in this. The dispatcher who worked the Legato fire handled 133 911 calls for that fire alone, then the additional 34. But we did call for the countywide aid early, and then we called for statewide aid, so we did get units as far away as Flagstaff. I happen to have worked on the statewide aid committee for the last 9 years, so I knew how the system worked, which was great. I also like to point out that just to show the relationship, I can call Chief Dura at 1:45 in the morning or 1:30, whatever time it was, and he will pick up the phone and come out and help, as did the town manager with Prescott Valley. These relationships that we have are vitally important to the safety of our community, and we have some outstanding folks outside the fire department that do wonderful things, from fleet to public works, city and town managers. Everybody came together, pulled together, and we can't thank you all enough for that. And we, as Chief Dura said in the beginning, a lot of people look at a fire like that and they focus on the fire department, but there's so many more people that deserve recognition, and that's why we're out going to different town councils, city councils, and the county to make sure those folks are acknowledged as well.
Thank
you. All right, we'll now move to proclamations. So we have one for the Falun Dafa Day, May 13th.
Mayor, I have a point of order. I'd like to make a statement prior to the
You're not
proclamation.
recognized. You're out of order.
Clerk, please make note that the mayor refused to let an elected official speak publicly.
You are out of order. Councilman Gambogi.
All those associated with Falun Dafa, please come to the microphone.
Hi.
I had knee surgery, replacement last week, and I never practiced going down the steps.
I'm sorry to be responsible for you having to do it.
Why don't you come around this side so we could face the back? This is very near and dear to my heart. Back in 1978, I first traveled to China, and I've probably been to more than 15 cities. China consists of 1.4 billion people, 400,000 of which are middle class and rich and live in places like Beijing and Shanghai, and the other billion are in abject poverty and live out west. And when I would travel out west, they were so gracious, and they would take me to Chinese ballet. And I really worshiped it. And then I found that by way of Falun Dafu, there's a opera group or ballet group called Shen Yun. And this past January, I think it was, I went down with my wife to see the Shen Yun presentation, and I highly recommend it to everyone. So, with that said, whereas Falun Dafa, also known as Falun Gong, is a peaceful and advanced spiritual practice system that centers around the universal principles of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance, and consists of 5 gentle exercises, including meditation, and whereas Falun Dafa activities include classes and practices are offered by volunteers, open to the public and free of charge. Over tens of millions of people in over 100 countries, including the United States, have benefited from practicing Falun Dafa. Whereas Falun Dafa was first introduced to the world by Mr. Li Hongzhi and has demonstrated a steadfast commitment to improving health in mind and body and spirit, and to enhancing the well-being of people from all walks of society who follow its tenets. And whereas Falun Dafa was introduced to the public in 1992 in China and was introduced to Arizona in 1998. Since then, many free introductory workshops have been held in public places such as city libraries and public parks, and practitioners have participated in many community events. And whereas Falun Dafa practitioners determined and encouraged to stand up for truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance while facing severe persecution from the Chinese Communist Party, has shown the world the value of life and the preciousness of human dignity. Now, therefore, Phil Good, the mayor of Prescott, does hereby proclaim May 13th, 2024 as Falun Dafa Day. Congratulations.
Thank you. Can I say something?
You can. Can you do what? Oh, okay.
Lotus flowers.
You want to say a few words?
Yeah.
All right, let me get this cleaned up here.
And here's a couple commission things if anyone's interested.
Now we got to.
I want to thank the mayor and council for having me here. I drove up from Tucson as the only representative here of Falun Dafa, a beautiful spiritual practice. It's extremely persecuted by the Communist Party, the atheist Chinese Communist Party. May I say that all people of faith in China are being tortured, jailed, and persecuted simply for believing in God instead of the Communist Party. It's as simple as that. So I can't, it's emotional, but thank you so much, because they're highly propagandized. If you look up Falun Dafa online, you're going to find such evil, horrible propaganda, I'm just telling you, perpetrated by the Communist Party. And by the way, they have infiltrated much of our media and social media, in case anyone isn't aware of that. They really have, and they're having a very negative effect on our country as well. We started with a prayer today. We're free to do that in this country. In other countries, you are not free to pray in public. You will be arrested and jailed. I hope everyone will ignore the propaganda of the Communist Party and realize that this is a beautiful spiritual practice. It's bringing the Chinese people back to God, rejecting atheism and communism. And it's extremely good for your health and well-being. It's meditative. And I hope you'll ignore the propaganda and accept that these are beautiful, good people, many of whom are living in our country now. and free here to practice their faith. Thank God.
While Councilman Gambogi makes his way back to the seat, we'll move on to the open call to the public.
Thank you, Mayor. The City of Prescott welcomes public engagement, and residents may comment and address the council regarding matters that are not included on the posted agenda during the open call to the public. If you wish to speak, please complete a green speaker card and submit it to me prior to the meeting being convened. As a reminder, speakers are limited to 4 minutes, and the call to the public will be limited to 40 minutes in total, with the following stipulations. Citizens will be limited to addressing the council on the same topic only 4 times in total. If a topic has been addressed more than 5 times by different speakers, the mayor may limit future discussion on this topic, and topics of a primarily national concern may be limited at the discretion of the mayor. I do not have any green comment cards. Is there anyone that wishes to address the council? Okay, we can move on, Mayor.
Very well, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Does anyone want to pull any items from the consent agenda? Let me get to the consent agenda.
I would like to pull item G, since I think we have a group here.
Item G.
Is that item G?
Yeah.
No. I'm sorry. It's F. It's F. I'll pull F. Someone else.
Okay, we'll pull item F off the consent agenda, and I'll entertain a motion on the remaining items.
Mayor, I move that we approve consent agenda items A through G minus F.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
You can vote on your
Vote.
screens.
Well, mine showed up.
No. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 7-0.
Yeah, because I was consent. All right, Councilman Furworth, item F.
Well, I was really happy to read the consent agenda. I had heard about this project and would love to give the group that is organizing this addition to our city a little time to talk about their project.
Come on up. Joe, Dennis, Joe, somebody.
Well, thank you. My name is Joe Bagley. I'm a citizen of Prescott. 3 years ago, I had an idea to honor Frank Shankwitz for what he has done to our community, to the United States, and to the world. He's probably our greatest humanitarian that we've ever seen. Frank devoted his whole life to Make-A-Wish. He never took a penny from Make-A-Wish. He was dedicated. His wife Kitty was involved in the entire way. I don't even know where to begin. There's so much about Frank, what a great guy he was. I wish I would have known him. I only met him once, and that was at the screening of the movie Wishman at the college. Very briefly, I just met him. I got to meet Kitty. I talked to her a little bit more. Kitty Shankwitz is right here with us. Throughout this whole course, everybody I've talked to seemed very positive about this, to honor Frank. And I'm honored to be part of this team Wishman. It's a great team to be part of. We've hashed so many things out as far as how we want to how we want to honor Frank, and we've came up with a pretty good plan. I hopefully you all had a chance to read, go through the PowerPoint. I thought I was going to be given the PowerPoint today, but I understand the consent agenda doesn't call for that. So I was a little bit taken back, Lois, when you said that. I don't know, what am I missing? He was a resident of Prescott. I mean, his life starting out was really tough growing up. And when he met Juan Delgadillo from Seligman, Juan took him under his arms and really taught him how to live, how to be himself, how to take care of himself, his integrity, everything. And I think that was the stepping stone of Frank Shankwitz throughout his life. So after he left Seligman, he came here. He was 10 years old and went to Prescott High. During one of the art festivals outside, I walked up to Bill Nebeker and I asked, Bill, do you know Frank Shankwitz? And he goes, Frank? He was my best friend. They grew up together, and I told him what I was thinking, and he says, count me in. And it's just been a wonderful, journey. And Councilmember Moore, I appreciate you, and Councilmember Montoya. You guys were the ones that had me speak in front of the city council about 2 years ago in August, and I had 5 minutes to give a who, what, when, where, why, and how. And I just rattled it off, and I did it. And, good luck with your project, Joe. And we've had pretty good luck, and we're pretty positive about it. We feel real good about it. And this is a good win-win for the city. And I started out my program, the PowerPoint, one boy's wish created a man, changed a man. One man's wish changed the world, and that was Frank Shankwitz. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to having that bust positioned over there on the corner of Gurley and Cortez. In fact, when I had the opportunity to see that first screening of the Wishman film, I mean, I was very impressed. My daughter's an internationally recognized documentary filmmaker from the Dodge School of Film at Chapman University, and I was very much involved in her education and being able to see how difficult it is and the amount of resources that go into making a first-class film. And it just impressed the heck out of me. I wished it had a much wider theatrical release so more people in the country would have a chance to see that and be able to recognize what Frank Shankwitz did during his life and his legacy that continues on. So with that said, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve City Contract 2024-219, an art donation for a bust sculpture of honoring Wishman Frank Shankwitz.
Second.
I didn't get who the second was on that. I'm sorry.
I think I was a little faster.
Thank you.
So we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
While Tori's fixing everybody's iPads, I'll just take a verbal vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 7-0.
Good luck. We'll look forward to that installation. All right, we'll move on to item 10A.
All right, bear with me, everybody. I've got 3 ordinance titles to read. Adoption of ordinance number 2024-1858, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Prescott, Yavapai County, Arizona, placing on the November 5th, 2024 election ballot the question of adopting a dedicated transaction privilege tax of 0.95% for purposes of public safety within the city, taking effect on April 1st, 2025, and then reducing to 0.75% by December 31st, 2035. Adoption of ordinance number 2024-1857, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Prescott, Yavapai County, Arizona, authorizing amendment number 3 to lease agreement between the City of Prescott and Zions Bank Corporation, DBA National Bank of Arizona, and adoption of ordinance number 2024-1856, an ordinance of the Mayor and Council of the City of Prescott, Yavapai County, Arizona, amending Title I, Chapter 1-4, Code Enforcement, Section 1-14-8, Appearance, Payment by mail, by revising subsection 1-14-8D and adding a new subsection 1-14-8E and adding a severance provision.
Do you want to take a rest? All right, so we'll, do we have any public comment on this?
We do have public comment on 10A, which is ordinance number 2024-1858.
Well, before we go to public comment, does anyone on the council want to make comments or have any concerns regarding this particular ordinance? Gee, it didn't show up on the screen, but nothing else does either.
Oh, well.
Okay, Councilman Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have two questions, and if I could ask both at the same time and get separate answers. I just want to talk about the financial impact, because one of the statements in the agenda packet was that the Yavapai County will conduct the election for the city as they vote by mail and charge a flat fee of $275 per registered voter. But Sarah, would you just clarify for the public that that would have been charged anyways because we were having a general election, or is this over and above?
This is above. So
Okay.
because we conduct our elections generally in off-numbered years, we would not have had any election fees for the 2024 general election. This is a special election for the city of Prescott, so it's additional fees. That's the same rate that they always charge us per voter, but we would not normally be paying that this year,
So even
as
though
well as twice next year.
Okay, I appreciate that clarification. The other question I had, and I'm not sure who will answer this, but in light of the meeting that we had during the study session today, where we're reviewing the changes to impact fees and the amount of money that these new impact fees will collect if they are approved, will that have any bearing on this ordinance? Will it change at all, or we'll just move forward as is? That's the question I have.
Thank you, Councilman. On the last workshop that we had on this, we did include an increase in impact fee collections in our projections. And again, those, not to mislead anybody, those are projections. I'm not psychic or anything to know exactly what's going to happen. So they will be what they will be, as far as collections go. So yes, it would not impact the amount, though.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I also wanted to point out for the public that as we just finished up our study session today, you can see that because of many factors beyond our control, this is something that we have needed to do, and it's very important for this city going forward into the future of how we're going to be able to serve the growth in the north area. But I did want to point out to everybody in this ordinance the word dedicated on the third line. So the question of adopting a dedicated transaction privilege tax, many people have expressed concern going forward, but it is our intent to make sure that this is understood throughout the city, that this is a dedicated tax, and it's going to be very, very important for all of us. If the council moving forward or a new mayor happens to come forward, this is an understanding that this money will be dedicated to the services. Thank you.
Councilwoman Furworth.
Thank you, Mayor. Building on Connie's point, and it's a small nit, but I think it helps with the potential election. In the very last line of the first of the ballot language, I would like to add the word improvements. to the city's general fund for the sole purpose of funding public safety service improvements. And I think that helps people between improvements and dedicated to understand that this is over and above what they're getting today.
Well, I would have to mention the fact that the bulk of this tax is going to be for ongoing personnel salaries. So the improvements would be applicable to this section that is dedicated to be retired or expired after the capital has been collected and the new fire stations and the property and evidence building has been built. So those would be potentially improvements of our capital infrastructure, but to put it on the entire ballot would be deceptive because the bulk of it is going to be paying for staffing and benefits going forward without restriction. City Attorney, what's your comment on that?
I think the word improvement is a problem because it means construction of capital outlay. But I think to the extent that if council wants to add the language of sole purpose of improving public safety services, if that's the intent, that's something we could do. But improvement just has specific meaning that would be misleading here.
Would that be acceptable, Councilwoman
Yes,
Fruworth?
makes the same point.
Improving, okay.
Yes, improving public safety services.
Councilmember Rusing.
Thank you. I've had some concerns expressed to me by the public as to why these revenues aren't going into a separate fund dedicated solely for public safety, and instead they're going into the general fund. And I would like the mayor or maybe Mr. Woodfield to answer that question for the public.
Sure, I can answer that question. As we discussed at the last workshop, this dedicated tax is being used to increase the service level in those areas and to help achieve things the council wants, but it is in no way going to fund the total cost of public safety. So to try to put it into a special revenue fund and say, well, this officer's in that fund and this officer's in the general fund, it's going to be part of the funding for the overall public safety. It will be 1/3 in the first few years, and it might work itself up to, but it's never going to be more than half of the funds. There's so many other things that fund public safety because of the cost. So that's why it's part of that overall funding source for the public safety. But it is dedicated to public safety and will only be used for public safety.
I think we just needed that reassurance. It sounds like it would just be impossible for from a accounting, bookkeeping point of view.
I mean, it would be extremely arbitrary what you ended up charging. I think there'd be less clarity, frankly. This will be disclosed every year during the budget process. It'll be disclosed in the budget book what the total funding for public safety is, how much was collected on this tax, and where it goes. If you've tried to split it into a separate fund for this one component of public safety, it's going to be so spread out through the budget and the comprehensive financial report, it would be less clear, in my opinion.
Alrighty, thank you.
And if you think about the long-term impacts of that, if you had two series of firefighters and one was being supported out of the general fund, the other one would be supported out of this tax, then what happens 20 years from now? Maybe that person leaves and you hire a new person. Does he go into the general fund group or does he go into the other fund group?
Like I say, that's why it's just less clear to try to do that. It's confusing.
Pension funds be applied? What happens if you transfer one firefighter from one fire station to another? Does he move into the other group or does he stay with his original one and his funding and payments within the fire department there or that station be separated from the other people that work in that station. If you look at those long-term impacts, it would be an absolute nightmare. And you think about it, the 0.75 that will continue for the long run will be paying for all the staff and all the firefighters in those departments for the long run. I could say in perpetuity, but I don't think I can see farther out than about 20 years.
And yes, absolutely. I think it's clear, and it won't even pay for all of the, obviously, firefighters. It's only going to pay for a portion of them.
Right.
So to keep it clear, it's better just to have all those expenses in one place and show those funding sources.
Councilman Montoya.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a question. Holger, you might be able to answer this question for me. I know that when we were talking about the timing of this ballot proposition coming up, there was some discussion about timing of putting it on the November ballot versus putting it on a later ballot. And I guess from a strategic planning perspective, what difference does it make if we put this on the ballot in November versus, say, August when we're having a primary election for the city?
So first of all, as Mark pointed out, as soon as the tax passes, we can issue debt to that tax regardless of the election day. In terms of the capital infrastructure, the planning of that, it's still about a 1 to 1.5 year pipeline for us. As you can imagine, we have to, encumber an RFP for an architect. We have to finish land deals. We have to design a station. That takes time. And at this point, my best projection would be that we would have a shovel in the ground sometime between September and, let's say, November of 2025, just because of that process that it takes to get a fire station designed and ready for build. So in that perspective, from the capital perspective, to answer your question directly, it wouldn't make a difference one way or the other. Now, in terms of the actuarial accumulations, that's a question that Mark can speak to better. But in terms of the timing of the projects from the fire department's perspective, the capital side, it wouldn't change the trajectory whether it was in November or in August.
And I appreciate that clarity, Holger. I guess the reason I'm bringing this up is because I've had conversations with a lot of people in the community, and I still think there's a lot of winning over of hearts and minds to do. And and I don't want to throw cold water on moving forward on this item at all. I'm very much a fan of it. I'm very much in support of doing it. But I wonder if the timeline we have to put this on the November ballot is too tight in terms of the education factor that we're going to have to do, the amount of money that's going to be had to raise to support the PAC that's going to support this, the fact that we're going to be in a sea of other election items in this November ballot. And I know before I was as civically engaged as I am now, if I did not have enough information to make a determination on a ballot proposition, statewide or otherwise, I would vote no on it. And I think that's a little bit of a concern for me. And I guess this is a follow-up question, and maybe the city clerk can speak to this question, but if God forbid this were to be on the November ballot and not pass, what is the timeline to get it back and try again?
So we would have to wait a full election cycle from the time that the item appears on the ballot. So not in 2025, but in 2026 or thereafter. And the ballot language would need to be different than what is adopted for this current election cycle.
And I think practically speaking, from a voter perspective, it would have to be different, because if they've already said no to it, then they would want to know what's changed, or if we're just not listening. I guess my following up on that question to you, Fire Chief, what would happen in that scenario in terms of the planning phase if this were to go on the November ballot and be a no, and then we know that we won't be able to get a definitive yes until 2026? I imagine that does impact your capital strategic planning.
Yeah, and I do want to back up if I may, on that point. It's literally the capital planning pipeline that I was talking about. We also have 6 positions in this proposed budget that we'll talk to you about on Thursday that, given the tax passing, we could potentially hire portions of one of the new engine companies and put them online early as possible, because we do have the rolling stock to say put a daytime engine into the system and start impacting response time. So I want to make sure that I'm very clear that it's the capital specific item, the construction piece, that is not as dependent between August versus November, but the staffing of those could start as soon as the tax passes. The other piece, I don't want to speak for the police department because they also have important projects in there, and we're just specifically right now addressing that fire component. So I just want to make sure that you know that there are staffing components that we can start, if it was November, earlier than we could in August, but the capital construction of a fire station itself, just that piece, would likely still take us about a year to 14 months in terms of lead time. I hope that helps.
It does. I guess the other thinking I have around this is that we have kind of a lot of unknown budget questions hanging out in front of us, with land acquisition around the airport and things of that nature. And the other thing I just kind of, we just had a study session on an increase in our water rate system. We increased property taxes last year. I think there is a real possibility of running into some voter fatigue around these increases. And I'm just throwing these things out as concerns that I have. At the end of the day, I'm a big believer of disagree and commit. If the will of everyone else is to move forward, then I'll move forward. I just want to kind of entertain the idea of maybe pausing and trying to develop a little bit better of a strategy around it. That's all.
All right, I guess we can take public comment now. Already were recognized.
Sherry Hanna.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I'm going to have Linda Nichols come up here with me. Most of you know that we have formed the PAC to support you. But we'll talk about that in just a second. But I want to address something on the wording of the proposition. I think originally when the first wording came out, it had solely dedicated. Now we see that the word solely is not gone, is eliminated, because we were concerned in the beginning. We wanted that money put in a separate fund, and after many conversations and talking with Mr. Young, the city attorney, explained to us why it could not be put in a separate fund, but the word solely dedicated would be in there. I noticed that solely is not in
It's still in the same place it was before, which is towards the end of the paragraph. The city's general
I just see dedicated, reading, adopting of a dedicated transaction privilege tax of 9.95.
You read on the phone. Does it say solely?
No, it didn't say that. So am I reading this wrong?
I think you're just not there yet. Later on
Okay.
in the paragraph, it says for the sole purpose, and that's where the sole was.
It's on the phone. Is it in the packet?
Okay, yeah, because it's not.
So the full ballot language is not the ordinance title.
Okay,
The
that's
full
where we're
ballot
confused at.
language is down further in the ordinance.
Okay.
And it specifically states, shall the city of Prescott adopt a dedicated transaction privilege tax of 95 hundredths of 1%, taking effect on April 1st, 2025, then reducing to 75 hundredths of 1% by December 31st, 2035, the revenue from which shall be contributed to the city's general fund for the sole purpose of funding public safety services within the city. That's
Okay.
the ballot language.
Okay, so we didn't get that. Sorry, so we didn't get that. Also, there was another point that we made in the language about, and I didn't hear it just when you mentioned it, that this transition tax would not take the place of their budgets, that they would be allowed to every year submit their budgets. The tax would not take that away. We wanted some wording in there to protect that, because if it doesn't say that further down the road, they might say, well, hopefully this tax has generated what we need it to be, so you may not need your budget because this is, for operations, separating it out. So we were concerned about that, and that was a big concern
too.
So with that language was added to the ordinance as well, not to the ballot language because it's already fairly cumbersome.
Okay.
But in the ordinance language, we added a paragraph that states that the new tax would be to increase the city's budget for public safety to meet the needs stated herein and not to replace current operating expenditures.
Okay, so that.
The explanation.
They should. Okay, all right. Okay, so we just wanted to be sure. Thank you, because we didn't see that, we weren't given that, so.
I want to talk about.
Okay, so just one more thing, so that I have to say. So with the 0.95% going for capital improvements, the fact that in the 2017 agreement with the James family, they have wording in there that dedicates property to a fire station / police station in the north area where the growth is, where, you know, they're growing, and that is out there. So with that said, you know, the James family donating that land to build a fire station, police station out in that area, generously doing that, that might help sell the tax, saying that I know it's not going to be a huge takeaway from the capital part, because the majority of the capital fund will be for building the facility. But gifting of the land would be something that would possibly help maybe sunset it sooner, the capital portion. But I just think it's important, since that wording is in that agreement, we could use that as a selling point, that we don't have to go out and buy the land. It's been gifted, and maybe the location isn't right or something, but we can work towards that. Is that something?
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily relevant to the ballot language, but I think in terms of your talking points, it's a fact. Under the development agreement, 2.5 acres has been gifted for the purpose of a fire station.
Okay. Okay, good. So also I want to mention that Linda Nichols and I, we're co-chairs of the PAC. We did form the PAC. And I'll let Linda talk about that. But we've been working very hard for weeks. And we formed our committee. We've met with most of you. You've given us your support. And we've got quite a few things already established so that we can hit the ground running tomorrow. I mean, we're still working on a few things, but the majority of the things we've already established, and I'll let Linda go over those things for you. Thank you.
So last week we formed a PAC. It's all ready to go. The bank right across the street at BMO Harris is where we've set it up. We have a treasurer, which we had to have. To form the PAC, we had to get a letter of organization, fill that out, find a treasurer. That was a little bit hard, but we did. And we have formed a team. And so that is completed with some donations already in the account, thanks to some of the people up here. And I also want to say that we created a website. It's under, if you went to it right now, it would just say under construction. We're ready to push a button, and it'll have links to the different meetings that you guys had on this subject. It will have explanations. It will have who's on the team. It will have all the information they need to know to be able to find out what this is all about on the website. Another thing that we did, which will be on the website, is 4 pages of talking points. So if you go out and you speak in public, if you read these 4 pages, we're all saying the same thing to the residents of Prescott. We're not, getting in trouble for saying the wrong thing. So we have done a lot of work on that. That 4-page document went to several people, including fire, police, and staff here, to be reviewed and commented on, and it's ready to be typed up tonight and put on the website tomorrow. We also have an email address. We also have forms for donations so that we're legally in line with what is required. We are looking at venues right now, places to go to present this. I know that several of you on this board have offered to go to the venues and speak, and which you're allowed to do. And we're having a scheduler work on scheduling those events with the right people to go to each one, and have agendas and have them know what they need to speak on when they get there. let's see, in addition, we've laid out a plan for the event, an agenda, who will do what, how will it get done, who will man the tables, and so on. The last thing that we have is some more educational materials. Our rack card is 75% complete. We're just waiting on a few points to put on it. It's almost ready to go to print, I would say. Our button is already printed or created, and we should get that on the 21st. We ordered 250 buttons, and then we have the rack card and the. We have one more thing, I can't think of it, but we're working on all kinds of things. Oh, yard signs, that'll be our last thing. So we're ordering them as we get donations. We can't really afford to go ahead and get them ahead of time, so if anybody would like to donate, we will take your donations. It's been a lot of work, like Sherry said. We started working on this a couple of months ago. Actually, last year we presented for police and fire to you guys. So we've been very interested in this project for a long time. We've done our homework. We think we're ready to hit the ground running once this is approved and voted on today. So does that help, Eric? Okay.
One more thing I want to say. The name of our organization under our PAC is Keep Prescott Safe. Yes on 478. That's the proposition number, and our theme is keeping Prescott safe. We attribute that to our great police and fire that have kept us safe, and because of our growth and the things that we're facing, we want to continue with that, keeping us safe. So it's been overwhelmingly, for me, when I've been out talking to people, very positive. They were just the concerns they had were making sure that money did go to police and fire only, and that it would not supplement their budget. And actually, we even heard, just give them the penny, just give them the whole penny. Why are you even going 0.95? Just give them a whole cent. So, we want to do it in a that we're being very conservative, because we know that we're asking the city residents, the taxpayers, to come forth. But I think as we go into this, the way we've got it set out, explaining and having you there and our police and fire chief there to answer a lot of questions, once the public fully understands, we feel that they will accept that and vote for it.
Well, thank you both for your efforts. We appreciate it, and obviously all of us will be in contact with you as you proceed.
Thank you all for your help. And Sarah, thank you. She got us on track to do all the legalities. So thank you, Sarah.
And thank you to Attorney Young and Tyler, too. They've been so helpful. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Okay, any other comments or concerns? Councilmember Rusing? No.
No.
Councilwoman Fruworth?
Yes, Mayor. I wanted to follow up on what Chief DeRay was saying, and I would like to direct the question to Mark Woodfill, and this is about timing. I understood that the minute the voters approve this is the minute that debt could be issued. And so I think there is a timeline problem if we go in November to hitting shovels in the ground by November of 25, as compared to delaying this to August. And then would that be to August or July of 26 before we'd get going? So I just want to understand the implications of the voters' timing on our ability to issue debt and get going.
Well, as the chief said, we would be able to issue debt as soon as we have voter approval. Even though the tax might not be collected for 6 months, start being collected for 6 months.
Voter approval date is the key to beginning.
Yes, but
Once it's canvassed.
yes, well, yeah, that has more of the detail. But once we have the vote, I mean, again, doesn't keep the city from proceeding to design stations that are going to need to be built eventually somehow. City has allocated funds to start those designs. We had them in this budget. They're being rolled over to the next budget. So the design for the needed stations is moving forward, before that. So, I mean, as far as the timing,
you're telling me is this. So your point is, it doesn't matter to you if it's November or it's August. It's immaterial to going.
I don't know if I'd say it's immaterial. I say this is a long-term solution to the public safety funding issue here in Prescott. And if the council feels that it is more likely to pass if it is in August, where it's one of just a few things on the ballot, as opposed to if it's done this November and it's one of 20 things on the ballot, that's a decision I don't think you should rush it if there is concern about it passing in November. If the chief isn't going to break ground on his facility until the fall of 25, an August election would still enable that, an August of 25 election would still enable that breaking ground, but it would slow down the hiring of the positions by 6 months or 9 months. There's your non-straight answer to your thing, but it has to, like I say, in my opinion, this is a long-term solution to public safety financing for the city of Prescott. If there is concern of the council that this November is too busy on the ballot and we're not going to be able to get it passed, and if we don't get it passed, yes, if it doesn't pass in November, it will definitely slow things down because we'll put it off for at least 2 years. So, November or August, it's wherever the politicians who know a lot more about elections than I do feel that it will pass. Sorry, I didn't mean to make things more confusing, but that.
Councilman Gambogi.
Some people see things as they are and ask why. Others see things as they could be and ask why not. Linda and Sherry, I wanted to compliment you. You could see that you're veterans from 443 and the experience has come through. I think it also goes to show a little bit to Councilman Montoya's question of can we get this done in time? They've done a lot of work already. Fire Chief Holger and Police Chief Amy and I have a presentation on the 22nd. So if you can have any of that stuff ready for the 22nd, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilmember Rusing.
Thank you. I would just like to reiterate for the public that over the next 10 years, these funds will put, I believe, 16 uniformed police officers on the street. And Chief Holger, I believe it was going to be 45. How many new firefighters EMS? 30 firefighters EMS on the streets. So this is something that we desperately need to keep ourselves straight and safe. And if we don't do it now, it's just going to get worse. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Well, if it's okay with you, I was just going to move to adopt.
And that's all three ordinances, Mayor Pro Tem?
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
So I'm going to make a motion to move to adopt consent ordinance items 10A through 10C.
Second.
Did you want to modify the language to include improving?
Do I need to do that?
That can
you
be
do.
part of your motion, yeah.
If that's to be part of the change, it needs to be part of the motion.
So I move to adopt consent ordinance items 10A through 10C with modification, adding improving, the word improving.
In front of
Second.
Public safety.
In front of public safety.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Passes 7-0.
All right, we'll move on to item 10B.
Well, Mayor, we're actually on 11A, liquor license. So this is a public hearing in consideration for a new Series 12 restaurant liquor license application from Lori Ann Capon, applicant for Willow Tree Tapas and Wine, LLC, location 2889 Willow Creek Road. The application fees have been paid and the sign has been posted for the required 20 days. Staff has reviewed the application and determined that it is in compliance and no public comments have been received. And the applicant is not present, so unless there is comment from the council, we can take a motion to close the public hearing and then the approval.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve item 11A, a new Series 12 restaurant liquor license application.
We have to close the public hearing first, Councilman Gambogi. You can do that one too, though, if you'd like.
I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion is second. Please vote.
Mayor Pro Tem, I see it popping up on yours, but it's not letting you tap it.
It's not even popping up.
Okay. It's showing me that it's popping up. Are you a yes?
Yes.
Okay. Passes 7-0 to close the public hearing. Is there a motion to approve it?
Now I move to approve the recommendations for liquor license number 279193 for a new Series 12 restaurant liquor license application for Willow Tree Tapas and Wine LLC, location 2889 Willow Creek Road.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Did you get it that time? Yeah. Okay.
Passes 7-0.
All right, how about going to the regular agenda item 12A?
We can do that. This is for the approval of city contract number 2024-217 with Civic Solutions for the Economic Development Strategic Plan for the City of Prescott.
Mayor and Council, John Heine. Mayor, I just want to let you know, I know how you feel with the audience participation, so I'll be speaking with you today. So John Heine, Economic Development and Tourism Office. I'm just going to review with you the memo today. What you have before you is you're being asked to approve a contract with Civic Solutions, LLC, based in Austin, Texas, for a comprehensive economic development strategic plan for the city of Prescott. My memo included some information from the company. I'm not going to read all that to you. Hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at it. I'll highlight a few points. From Civic Solutions, Principal Stephen Pedigo. We bring deep experience and knowledge of Prescott, Arizona, having recently completed the Quad Cities Regional Economic Development Strategy for the Prescott Chamber of Commerce Foundation, as well as strategies for the cities of Scottsdale, Tucson, and Gilbert. With intimate knowledge of Prescott, we'll be able to ensure that we develop a strategy that is uniquely tailored for Prescott while ensuring compatibility with other economic development efforts within the region and around the state. Our proposal outlines a strategy aimed at fostering local economic growth for Prescott's residents and businesses through business attraction, business expansion, destination development, and growth of the city's talent base. Civic Sol's most recent experience, as it mentions here, was conducting a region-wide economic development plan on behalf of the Prescott Chamber Foundation. With their track record in Arizona and around the country, we felt that this made them a quality choice for the economic development strategic plan for Prescott, and with that opportunity to dovetail the plan with plans that are going on around our area already, which is important. Just some details. We went through a request for qualifications, not an RFP as you're used to, but it was a statement of qualifications process, RSOQ it's called, and we had 10 applicants. We had companies from all over the country. Some with some experience in Arizona, some not, but definitely a qualified list. We had a small group review it as per the procurement guidelines. There's a committee formed to review it, and I was able to sit on that with Tyler and myself, and Christina Binkley assisted with the selection. So we feel, again, that this contract, Civic Solutions is best qualified, especially based on their current and recent work that they've done with Prescott. They have their timeline is very good. Some of these companies we looked at, we're looking at a 12 to 14 month timeline. Civic Solutions can get in and talk to stakeholders and get something back to us by the fourth quarter of this year, which we think is optimal to get started as soon as we can. The only other thing I'll say about their process, if you've had a chance to look at it, is Prescott is about engagement. We have very active citizens, stakeholders, businesses, yourselves as council members. Their project really relies on a lot of that engagement. They're looking at doing several roundtable sessions with stakeholders. They're going to do one-on-one interviews with yourself and others. So I really feel like that engagement is going to help inform what they provide for the plan and help them bring that back to us. That combined, of course, with statistics and information that they have gathered. So I think I'll leave it there and certainly open it up for questions.
Councilmember Roos.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Heine. I have some concerns. Number one, we're being asked to approve a contract that's not included in the packet, so we haven't seen it. And then the sales pitch includes the Quad Cities Regional Economic Development Strategy. That wasn't included in the packet, so we could review that and at least see what their recommendations were for the Quad Cities. Number three, Prescott is the economic driver for all of Yavapai County, and I'm still astounded that we do not have a dedicated economic development director, which I believe is it in the works, or where are we with hiring one?
Sure. So I think that, first of all, you had multiple questions. One, the contract, under our procurement guidelines, I was told that the contract that we do for something like this for procurement is a bit more of a boilerplate, that really the information is in what they offer for their, what they provide in their quote. So that was what I was made aware of. I apologize for it not being included, but it's sort of a standard procurement contract that we would apply to this. So I apologize for it not being in the packet. As for the regional plan, it's still in the works. There were presentations made to stakeholder groups. I believe a few council members were invited to attend a meeting about that, but we can certainly provide you with the packet and the information.
Because it says here recently completed the Quad.
Yeah, they completed it and presented it. I don't have the final draft of it.
Okay.
But I certainly can share with you. But I think, I did go to the one meeting that some of the council members went to. I was on the committee that reviewed it, and I think that they did a great job of looking at us holistically. You're absolutely right. Prescott is the driver for economic development. It has been for 160 years. So I think we'll continue that. I think the opportunity is that we can create a plan that's tailor fit to what you would like to see, how you would like to do this, and bring it into the larger plan and dovetail it and have those things work together instead of a plan over here doing this and our plan doing this. I think that dovetailing opportunity is a great one. The other thing I really can't emphasize enough is the stakeholder engagement. You mentioned, well, we don't have a dedicated economic development department. I technically am the director, but I also, as you know, wear other hats. So this is your opportunity to tell us and to tell the citizens through this engagement, through this strategic plan, what you would like to see, and really to an extent how you would like it to be implemented. So that's really why we're excited to get this going and get started so that we can start planning and building a department based on the strategic plan.
Councilwoman Furworth.
Thank you, Mayor. I did participate, I think, in this short evening presentation, and it was high level. There was nothing, that would get you upset or have you do backflips. It all just sounded good. So that's my understanding. I do think at some point in the future it would make a lot of sense to get a deep dive on that.
Sure.
I also asked this morning to see the contract. I actually found when I got it this afternoon before the meeting. I got a chance to look through it. There was a request for statement of qualifications in the middle of the boilerplate contract, and that was actually very helpful to help me understand how you were setting up this project and exactly what you were looking for. And then the two remaining questions I had after reading that was, what was the estimated timetable? And you said fourth quarter of this year, which
That's
is
correct.
like OND of 24. Are we talking?
So I apologize.
Which quarter?
Fourth quarter of this calendar year. So, I mean, by October, November, it's
this-
very likely of this
if we
year
say today.
that we can see something. Yes, correct.
And that would be my biggest concern related to the budget session we're in the middle of. If we get a product delivered to us, we want to get going in 2025. And so I do think, Tyler, the resource is critical to taking a recommendation and a plan and starting to implement it. So that's my fear right now, by not having a dedicated resource built into the budget, that we're going to get a product and then we're going to sit on it and flounder and not go through with the steam. So I don't know if you have any thoughts about that.
Yes, thank you. I'll speak to that just for a moment. We do have in the upcoming budget proposed a contract position for an economic development specialist, I believe is what we're calling it. That would allow us to move forward with implementing the plan when it's completed. We still don't know, however, and it would be hard to identify what budgetary impacts the plan would entail once completed. However, we do have flexibility in the middle of a budget year. We can shift priorities around. So just because it's not a specific line item, there's still opportunity to move resources where it's most needed.
Okay, and I missed the contracted resource, so that helps. And then the other question I had was, how was the council going to be integrated? And you answered those questions between one-on-one interviews and roundtables, so I am good to go.
Yeah, and I should also mention, as part of their plan, even going a deeper dive on that, Councilmember Froworth, that there's actually going to be a request for a steering committee to kind of start the process. So they encourage, and we definitely would like council participation in that steering committee as well. So there'll be a steering committee, then we'll go to roundtable discussions and one-on-one interviews. Again, a great deal of engagement with yourselves and other stakeholders in the community. I think that's going to be the strength of this plan.
Well, I, for one, am a little disappointed that the details of the contract and the reference to the regional plan were not included in the packet, and they were not made available to any member of the public who would like to see it. So anytime I hear somebody say, well, it's just boilerplate, I've heard that happen a couple of times over my experience on council, and looking into some of the details on the boilerplate was what I considered to be questionable. So unless it's within the discretion of a department head's financial approval directly, and this is beyond that, I think we are premature in approving this, and I would recommend that it be postponed. You include all the necessary information in the packet, make sure it's posted for the public, and then we can vote on it at the next council meeting.
Is that a motion, Mayor?
Councilmember Rusing?
Was that a motion? Because I'll make it if you didn't make it.
Well,
Can I address that topic? Just because I feel like John's kind of sitting over here taking some hits that he shouldn't be taking. Our staff puts together agenda packets for all of you every 2 weeks, recently far more often than that. And we do not ever include our templated PSAs, which are professional services agreements, which is what this is. If council would like to provide direction for those to be included in future packets, with the understanding that you're nearly, I think this time around, you all received over 400 pages, for those of you that take hard copies, over 400 pages of packet materials, and you want to also now include boilerplate template contracts that we haven't included. We're happy to do that, but we need some direction on that. John included the information that is what's always been required to be included. I did send out the contract and the RSOQ after receiving an email from Councilwoman Froworth earlier this morning. That went out at 11:30 a.m.
Well, I, for one, didn't see it. And anytime we're approving a contract a contract should be included in the packet. So my motion stands.
Second.
Sarah,
Have a motion and a second.
Mayor, if I may, I just have a clarifying question.
Go ahead, Councilman Montoya.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. Sarah, can you clarify what a yes or a no vote would mean on this motion? I'm just not entirely clear.
So if you vote yes on this, it would be to postpone this approval of this item until, I guess, May 28th. We want to just reattach the contract that was sent out this morning.
That's all, Mayor. Thank you. I just appreciate that clarity.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Please vote. A vote for yes is to postpone.
Mayor Pro Tem, are you a yes or a no? Yes to postpone? Yes, correct. Okay. That passes 4-3.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just get consensus from all of council that you want every contract and all supplemental materials included in every single agenda packet?
Anytime we're voting on a contract, the contract material should be included.
Okay. 12B, approval of city contract number 2023-209A2 and amendment to city contract number 2023-209 with Combs Construction Company, Inc. for the Prescott Public Library parking lot improvements.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Tim Sherwood, Capital Program Manager, Public Works. You can see on the map on the screen, and as noted in the memo, the current American with Disabilities Act, or ADA parking spaces adjacent to the west entry of the library, which are highlighted in the kind of red square there, are non-compliant. And that means more than a 2% slope in any direction across how you measure that parking space. This project will include the removal of existing asphalt and concrete, grading and resurfacing the parking lot to bring the current 2 handicap spaces into compliance with current ADA standards. And one of the benefits of this project is, with the approach we're taking, will include the addition of a 3rd ADA space out in front of the building. So kind of that hashed area you see in the center of the parking lot in the upper right-hand corner of that red square there, that was where the 3rd ADA parking space would go. Library staff and legal were included in the design process and the selection of the final design that we're taking to you guys today for construction. There was $450,000 budgeted in the facilities budget for this project. Extensive public outreach will be used to make the library patrons aware of the project, as Mayor Pro Tem mentioned or announced at the beginning of the meeting about the library lot being closed. Public Works staff selected to use the city's job order contracting for this project to help expedite the process. And Public Works is recommending award of a contract to Combs Construction, Inc. of Phoenix for $421,424.89. City's standard construction contract will be used for this project. And as I mentioned before, funding for this project is budgeted in FY24 and available in the facilities fund. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Councilmember Rusing.
Thank you. I used to be the liaison to the library back when they had a separate committee. And so this is a near and dear topic to me. I have several comments. I've been up on that back parking lot and, up behind the library where there's that little park. And there were several ADA marked parking spaces up there, which never made sense to me because it was pretty arduous to get up and down. So those are going to go away because they weren't compliant.
They have gone away, yes. As when this was brought to our attention, one of the things they talked to us about, and we did that as part of the sidewalk project, is we took the signage down and marked out those spaces because they were non-compliant. So that was part of that process.
So that was taken care of. And then also we recently completed a sidewalk project, from the American Legion down to the library on Goodwin Street and put in new curbs. And is any of that going to have to be torn up?
No, none at all.
That's all good. So
As a matter of fact, when this was brought to our attention, we were in the middle of that project, and you can see it reflected in the picture. All the diagonal spaces were added as part of that project. We were going to try and accomplish this as part of that project. We just didn't have the funding or the timing at the time to do it.
Okay, and then my next question is the dumpster going to be moved, or is it still going to be there next
As far as like the Lions?
Well, there's a...
Or the book drop-off.
Yeah, maybe it's the book drop.
Yeah, the book drop-off will be relocated during the course of construction and put back.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to comment. I wanted to thank Mr. Roger Saff, the library director. He does an outstanding job. That library is a jewel of the community, not just for here in Prescott. And I spent a lot of time in that parking lot collecting signatures and talking to people. And I was so impressed at how busy that library is and the hours. I mean, it's pretty much open 7 days a week. I think they only close on Sunday afternoons. So thank you very much for taking on this project and making it compliant.
Councilman Gambogi.
All those things said about the library are true. But what I'm wrestling with is the library has been ADA compliant at some point in time, right?
To be honest with you, Mr. Gambogi, I'm not sure if it ever has been in compliance, and it was just brought to our attention. There's been nothing done in that parking lot that's adversely affected the parking spaces since the parking lot was originally installed.
Are we talking about I'm choking on $421,000.
Yes, sir.
Are we talking about the parking lot right in front in the front door?
Yes, sir.
That's not ADA compliant.
No, sir.
2%.
But like I said, ADA compliance is 2%, nothing exceeding 2% cross slope in any measured direction. That's across the space, length of the space, diagonal across the space.
2%. Say that again, Tim.
For a space to be out of compliance, it cannot exceed 2% slope in any direction. So these spaces, if you were to pull your car in front to back, are in compliance. Where they're out of compliance is sloped towards Marina Street. The space closest to the building is just barely out of compliance. The space next to it is significantly out of compliance.
If I can address the ADA for those kind of newer, because we addressed this, I don't know, a year ago, maybe.
Yeah, it's been a while.
There was a complaint made to the ADA from somebody, a user of the library, and ADA did an investigation and found we were in violation. And so is the violation that was sent to us, and these are our efforts to fix that.
So to answer your question, Councilman Gambogi, yes, chances are, ever since that was put in, it was incorrectly designed, and it was not in compliance until the ADA came out to investigate this complaint and made it aware to our Public Works Department.
Yes, sir. And those spaces currently, as they're constructed, are out of asphalt. So one of the things we're doing is we're going to do all three of those spaces in concrete. We have much better control over the grades that way. Then from the concrete area where the ADA spaces will be, out to the street will be asphalt again. But in order to be able to really dial in the grades on those spaces, make sure we get it right the first time, we're going to pour those in concrete.
Mayor?
So that certainly adds to the cost.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Montoya.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had a question. Is the contract for this item in the packet? Does anyone know?
No, it's not.
No, sir. Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Councilmember Rusing.
Thank you. Since it's going to be essentially flat, how are we going to handle the stormwater drainage and snow melt so it doesn't turn into a
It will still have some cross slope
It
towards
will.
Marina Street, but it just can't exceed 2%.
Yeah.
And in our normal street configuration, When we do curb and gutter and we put a crown in a road, a typical road crown will be 2% from the center of the road to the curb and gutter.
Yeah.
So it will still have the ability to run off. We can't really change the grades at Marina Street.
Okay. And was there any exploration of maybe some grant funding to make this ADA compatible?
On behalf of Public Works, no, we did not look into that. And like I said, legal and the library staff were heavily involved in this too.
Okay.
But I'm not aware of it, no.
All righty. Thank you.
Councilwoman Furworth.
Thank you, Mayor. Tim, just a question, because even though there was not a contract, there was a very detailed proposal included. So I kind of got my head wrapped around what was going on here. I do see a lot of concrete. So now you've explained that that's going into the ADA spaces. The other thing I saw was concrete driveway. Are you going to upgrade anything else about that lower level parking lot while you're in there?
Yeah. The driveways as they're currently constructed are basically a ramp from Marina Street into the parking lot. We're going to put a standard commercial driveway entrance. What that allowed us to do is allowed us to raise, because right now the sidewalk kind of dips down to the driveway approach. We're able to raise that grade up by about 8 inches. That helps us significantly with the slope of the parking lot. So when we pour the parking lot, the ADA spaces in concrete, the grade from there to that new driveway approach will be much less than if we have just tried to match back to Marina Street.
Councilmember Rusing.
I'd just like to comment, this is a $400,000 solution to a problem that really wasn't a problem, because I've seen elderly people with canes and walkers navigating that parking lot perfectly fine, but I guess this is a federal requirement and we have to do it. Thank you.
Well, I can tell you I have a problem with this one too, because we don't have the contract here to be included in the packet. And I think we're obligated to the public. And I've made statements over my 6.5 years on the council that I read every contract. And if I don't have the contract to read, I'm violating my own principles. So I would move that we also postpone this till the next meeting to have it included in the packet, so we in the public can see what the contract says. And I'm sure it's fine, but it's not here.
It would kill us.
Second.
So we have did you have another comment? Councilman Gambogi?
Oh, sorry. No.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to postpone this until the May 28th.
Mayor, can I ask a question?
No, we have a motion on the floor.
Well, I just want to clarify what a yes vote is on this. Yes
Okay,
is to
that's fair
postpone.
Yes, same thing as the last one. So if you vote yes on this, it will postpone a vote on this item until May 28th.
Thank you.
Okay, motion is second. Please vote.
Fails 4-3. I'm sorry, 3-4.
Do we need to make a motion to? Mayor,
Yes, so
I'd
then since that failed, another motion could be made.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve city contract number 2023-209A2.
Second.
Okay, you have a motion and a second.
Passes 4-3. All right. Next up, we have the monthly council liaison updates for our boards and commissions. I didn't receive anything in advance of the meeting from anybody, so I don't know if any of our members of council do have updates for their boards and commissions. I'm seeing Mayor Pro Tem waving her finger at me, so I'm guessing that she does, and Councilman Montoya. And then I will provide a brief overview of all of the meetings that are upcoming leading up to our next council meeting in June. we have another one before that, but the next time we do the updates, sorry. Mayor Pro Tem, go ahead.
Thank you, Sarah. And that was my fault. I was out of town for Mother's Day. I neglected to get back with you. But I do have some very interesting things that are going on with the Historic Preservation Committee, which I'm the liaison to. We reviewed the new hotel that is to be built on the old City Hall site. And the project owner, Mr. Shumway, was nice enough to come in front of the committee to answer any questions and take some suggestions that the Historic Preservation Committee had. He also was very good about answering the questions then, the concerns, and letting people know why he could do things and why he could not do things. The other thing that we did in the Historic Preservation Committee is for the National Bank, who's moving out of this building, they reviewed a sign which was rejected, and they're going to go back to the drawing board, the bank is, and try to rework the sign that is to be installed on the corner. The other committee I'm in is the Workforce Housing Committee, and we had a field trip. We went out to Prescott Valley and saw the workforce housing project that Pronghorn Group is doing out there, not too far from the back burner as you drive up to 89A. A very interesting project. I urge all of you to go out there and take a look at that. The project will have a clubhouse that is not completed on the property, but they did have one of the units completed, and we were allowed to go in. It's an interesting project. I think you need to go down and look at that. So let's see. The other thing is we're getting ready to have a stakeholder open house for the Workforce Housing Committee on June 6th. This is where we invite many of the stakeholders, and I think the reason for the open house is to really open it up for conversation between the stakeholders and the city, and just kind of promote a lot of very productive dialogue between both. I think it's also going to be a good way to gauge the stakeholder buy-in, and I mean that quite literally. We're hoping that they will financially buy into some of our potentials going forward. The other thing we did is we're considering a full-time employee to work with the workforce housing issue, and part of the job description will be working with the city, the stakeholders, and the builders in this workforce housing shortage. So that was a lot going forward, but I think we're making some headway. Thank you.
Mayor, if I may.
Councilman Montoya.
Thank you, sir. Sarah, thanks. I apologize for not getting back to you, but I'll be relatively brief. I'm the council liaison to CDBG, which is the Community Development Block Grant Committee for the City of Prescott. They have gone through the process of approving projects for their next allocation, so those will be coming before council. I'm not sure on the timing, but I imagine the next 2 to 3 council sessions. I don't know. Sarah could speak to that better than me, but I did want to share an email from Mike McGinnis, who is the staff person who's assigned to CDBG. And this was addressed to the CDBG members. HUD posted their CDBG estimated allocations. Prescott allocation for program year 2024, which is July 1 through 2024 through June 30, 2025, is $269,584. This represents our largest allocation over the last few years and is above the $250,000 we estimated when approving applications. Overall, great news. The agenda for the May 22nd meeting will include adjustment of the awards due to the increase in funding. So I just wanted to share that update with you guys, and that's it.
I think Councilwoman Fairworth has one too, Mayor, if that's okay.
Councilwoman Fairworth.
Very similar to the one you just heard. The Tourism Advisory Commission has gone through all of the grant applications and scored them, and should also be coming forward in the next few sessions as well with their work.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, so we have some meetings of our boards and commissions and additional meetings of our council too coming up over the next month. So this Thursday, May 16th, the council will be conducting the second phase of our budget workshops. On May 21st, the Airport Advisory Committee will meet. May 29th, the General Plan Committee will meet. And speaking of grants, on May 30th, the Civic Enhancement Committee will review all of the grant applications. We received 5 in total this year for the ACRA grants for fiscal year 25. So those will come before you all in June to vote on. June 4th, the Council Subcommittee on Water Issues will have a meeting. June 5th, the Mayor's Veterans Commission will meet. And on June 10th, the Pedestrian, Bicycle, and Traffic Advisory Committee will meet. And that is all I have for boards and commissions.
Very good. That completes our agenda for today. I do have a very interesting quote that I thought was very apropos. This came from Herb Albright, who is an American painter and a columnist for the Saturday Evening Post. A positive attitude may not solve all your problems, but it will annoy enough people to make it worth the effort. This meeting is adjourned.